It's not too difficult to summarize the important elements of what I have been talking about for so long. It really boils down to one thing, and that is personal liberty, individual liberty. And if you think about individual liberty, it is individual. It isn't. Liberty doesn't come to us by group. People don't have hyphenated liberty, and we don't have hyphenated freedoms. And that's what the founders understood, and that's what the revolution was all about, and that's what the Constitution is all about, is the protecting of liberty. If you read the Constitution, it was to restrain the government, and it was to enhance the personal liberty. So if we had done that a long time ago, we wouldn't have the problems that we have today. So because we have not followed the Constitution on the monetary issue, we've ended up with the Federal Reserve, and they print money at will, they destroy the value of the currency, they give us bubbles, and they give us the recessions and depression. So quite frankly, the conclusion there should be that we don't need a Federal Reserve.
Woo! And the Fed! And the Fed!
The Constitution is very clear about foreign policy. The federal government, and especially the president, has a lot to do with defending the country. And that should be one of the primary orders and responsibilities. But it does not give the president nor the Congress or anybody else the authority to go to war without declaration. We should only go to war with a declaration of war. For presidents to disobey the rule of law and disobey the Constitution and say, oh, I don't have to talk to the Congress, I'm going to talk to NATO, the United Nations. We should never allow a president to go to war under a UN resolution. Also, the 10 amendments to the Constitution are obviously very important. The First Amendment, most people know what that's supposed to do, and the Fourth Amendment, and also the Fifth Amendment. But right now, they're under systematic attacks by our government and our courts because Americans our liberties aren't protected. So when you hear laws being passed like in the atmosphere of post 9/11 and saying, well, we're going to make the American people safer and by taking away their freedoms, and they pass the Patriot Act. We don't need the Patriot Act to make us safe and secure. So what we need is, if we understand what liberty is all about, we have free markets, we have sound money, we have property rights, and we have contract rights. It's wrong when our opponents say, oh, they don't want any regulations, they just want the chaos of the free market, which isn't true. But the free market has a lot of rules. If you go bankrupt, you have to go bankrupt and not get bailed out. And you also can't kind of get money like the Federal Reserve does. But instead, we have a government, instead of protecting the market, they destroy the market. We really don't have property rights anymore. Think about people who have land in Nevada. Can they do much without asking the government? The federal government owns most of the land. My position is the land ought to be owned by the states and the people of Nevada.
Yeah. Woo! Woo! All right.
Of civil liberties, the Fourth Amendment meant to protect your privacy. We have a government now out of control. What does it do? It protects the secrecy of government and invades your privacy. We need that turned around once again and protect your privacy and expose your government.
Yeah.
If we truly want peace and prosperity, we have to live within our means. We shouldn't be running up debt. We shouldn't have a Federal Reserve System. We would not need an income tax. We would have to change our foreign policy. We can't be the policemen of the world. We have to be more concerned about our own borders than pretending that we know how to find or even delineate and solve the problems of border wars all around the world. We don't even know where the border is between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and yet in the last 5 years there were over 47,000 people killed on our southern border. We have chaos on our borders and nobody even wants to talk about it. So we need to decide, do we have a constitution? Do we have a national sovereignty issue for the protection and the care of the American citizens? Or are we going to dilute ourselves and bankrupt ourselves by pretending that we have the authority and the wealth to police the world? This can all be reversed by one thing: confidence in the cause of liberty and private property, and conviction by those that we send to Washington that they ought to know and understand and believe in the Constitution and follow the Constitution. Thank you very much.